Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
I can't believe our parents are going to be writing for our favorite cartoon, the Kablam and Boom Squad! Exclaimed Levi as he and Ivy gobbled down 2 ice cream sundaes covered in sprinkles, hot fudge, and mountains of whipped cream at their favorite ice cream shop in town. I know, I couldn't be more excited, replied Ivy. Do you think someday we'll get to be in the cartoon? Like Mom and Dad can write us into an episode and we'll get to fly around with Captain Kablam and Super Boom, saving the world from menacing monsters that want to take away recess and make candy illegal? Like Colonel Can't, who's always telling Captain Kablam and Super Bloom what they can't do? Levi looked up at Ivy from his giant ice cream treat. He'd never had that thought before and suddenly got very excited of thinking of being a superhero with his sister. That would be so amazing, shouted Levi, accidentally flinging sprinkles on his mom and dad as he stretched out his arms, pretending to soar through the sky with his favorite superheroes. We could be in the episode where they finally catch Colonel Can't, shouted Ivy, accidentally dropping a scoop of whipped cream on the floor as she pretended to take down the elusive villain with the best squad of superhumans this side of Saturn. Then we can get a spin-off cartoon and our pictures on backpacks and water bottles and our very own video game and stuffed toys, asked Levi, going on and on. At this point, Levi and Ivy were so far into their own imaginations about what their new parents' job could turn into that their mom and dad couldn't do anything more than wipe the sprinkles off themselves and wait for a break in the conversation to add in a small dose of much-needed reality. Hey, kids, called out Levi and Ivy's mom. But they didn't hear her over their conversation about how they would take down Colonel Can't. Hey, kids, called out Levi and Ivy's dad just a bit louder. Who wants more ice cream? That last part was enough to get Levi and Ivy's attention for just long enough so their dad could tell them that they may be going a bit too far. We love that you two are so excited that your mom and I took the job writing for your favorite cartoon, began Levi and Ivy's dad. That was one of the biggest reasons that we did it. But we have show topics that we have to follow, and we can't just write in brand new characters anytime we want. At least, not right in the beginning, interrupted Levi and Ivy's mom. As she could see, the looks on her kids' faces quickly changed from excited and hopeful to disappointed and sad. No need to be sad, though. You two can help us with some story ideas at some point, and maybe one day, if everything works out, we can talk about adding 2 new superheroes into the mix, said Levi and Ivy's dad reassuringly. You two have great imaginations, and I'm sure you can help us out a lot, said their mom. This is a really big deal for your dad and I, and we'll need your help too. Levi and Ivy were all smiles again after hearing that there was a possibility of sometime being in their favorite cartoon with Captain Kablam and Super Boom. But until then, they would be happy to just work behind the scenes. Okay, now that we've all got our smiles back, let's finish up our celebration ice cream and get back home, said Levi's mom as she finished up her chocolate chip cookie dough sundae. Once back at home, Levi and Ivy were getting ready for bed, still talking about what it would be like to be in their favorite cartoon. Their parents heard their kids' excited conversation and had a conversation of their own. They knew this job would be amazing and a great experience for both of them. However, as they talked more and more with the other writers for the cartoon, they started to realize just how much work they would be doing. Longer hours, working on weekends, and even traveling, since they lived pretty far from where the show was created, were all part of what they had signed up for. You think the kids will be okay with all the extra work we have to do, right? Asked Levi and Ivy's mom to her husband. Sure, you heard how over the moon excited they were about our writing job, replied Levi and Ivy's dad. They'll totally understand that we need to put our best foot forward, and that means that we may not be around as much. But we're doing all this for them, and I know it will calm down once we get the hang of it. I guess you're right, said Levi and Ivy's mom, trying her hardest to believe what he was saying. She really hoped they could find a good balance with their new jobs and their wonderful family life. After all, family was everything to Levi and Ivy's parents. And Levi and Ivy too. They always made time for each other, supported each other at their games, activities, and never missed ice cream Sunday. It was their favorite way to end the week, and they couldn't imagine it any other way. The very next morning, Levi and Ivy woke up extra early. Even though it was summer break from school, they had just too much on their mind to stay in bed. They raced downstairs with a notebook filled with ideas that they had written down before they went to bed the night before. As they ran down the stairs, they shouted ideas back and forth to each other. They couldn't wait to share them with their parents. So, in an upcoming episode, maybe Captain Kablam can take his sky racer and fly it to Mars and gather up some super shrinking dust to toss on Colonel Kant, exclaimed Levi. Perfect, replied Ivy. Colonel Kant won't be able to get up to his normal villain mischief if he's only 2 inches tall. And in another episode, maybe Super Boom can build a new sky racer that goes super fast and can outrun any villain before they carry out their plans to take away all their chocolate or ban silly dancing. I love that, said Levi as he high-fived his sister before they ran into the kitchen. Mom, Dad, we have so many great ideas for you to write about, shouted Levi before he stopped in his track when he entered the kitchen. Yeah, they're so good, it'll be hard for you to pick which one to write about first, said Ivy as she slid to a stop behind Levi. Hi, guys, said their babysitter, Hannah. I know you were expecting to see your parents. However, they had to head out to a super early morning meeting with a writer from the new cartoon they're working on, who was only in town today. They got the call last night after you two went to sleep and called me right after they found out, so I could be here to babysit when you woke up. So it'll be fun time with Hannah today. Doesn't that sound awesome? Levi and Ivy had to take a minute to process everything Hannah was telling them. They finally took it all in as they felt their excitement level dropping. I mean, don't get them wrong, Hannah was the best babysitter around, but their parents never worked on Mondays. At least they didn't used to. And they were just so excited to talk to them about their ideas for the cartoon. Yeah, we're super excited to see you, Hannah, said Levi unconvincingly. But you were expecting to see your parents, said Hannah, and I totally understand the feeling you're having. It's like when I thought we were having pizza one day for school lunch, and instead they switched at last minute to fish sticks. Still one of my favorites, but it took me a little while to warm up to the idea because I was looking forward to pizza. So I guess that makes you fish sticks? Said Ivy, trying to bring a little humor to the situation and cheer herself and Levi. But it didn't work. Hannah laughed, however, and got started making Levi and Ivy some breakfast. So what were you guys talking about when you ran in here? Asked Hannah. Something about story ideas for that cartoon your parents are writing for? Levi and Ivy nodded their heads. It's our favorite cartoon, and we're really excited that our mom and dad will be writing for it, Ivy began. We were excited to share some ideas with them because they said we could help them with a little bit of the ideas. Oh yeah, you two are super duper creative, said Hannah. They're lucky to have you around, but this is just one day. I'm sure you can fill them in when they get home. They shouldn't be gone that long. You're right, answered Levi as he looked at Ivy trying to make her smile. Mom and Dad will be home soon enough, and then we can tell them all about our story ideas. But for now, let's just have some fun with Hannah. You're right, Levi, said Ivy as she began to eat her cereal and talk about what fun things they could do together while they waited for their parents to get home. After breakfast, Levi and Ivy quickly got changed and ran off into the backyard. Hannah had brought over some seeds for them to plant in Ivy's garden. Ivy loved gardening and spent lots of time among her flowers and veggies, making sure they were growing big and strong. Hannah knew this and had brought over some sunflower seeds that they started planting right away. I can't wait to see what these look like in a couple of months, said Hannah. They'll look amazing. I just know it. You're a great gardener, Ivy. Thank you, Ivy said as she watered her freshly planted seeds. Levi then suggested they play tag. So they did. Ivy then suggested they rode their bikes. So they did. Hannah then suggested that they do some chalk drawing. So they did. The morning was moving along quickly. Levi, Ivy, and Hannah were all having a great time. Did my parents say when they would be home? Asked Levi as they were all hanging out in their treehouse. They didn't tell me exactly, but they said they would text me when they knew, said Hannah. And just as she said that, her phone buzzed. Look at that. It's a text message from your parents, said Hannah with a smile. What did I tell you? They'd be home in no time. Levi and Ivy loved being with Hannah, but that day they were really excited to see their parents, so they waited patiently while Hannah read the text. The smile on her face slowly faded because she knew the news she was about to tell Levi and Ivy would not make them too happy. So, are they on their way home? Asked Ivy. Hannah didn't say anything. Or maybe it's just another hour or two, like they'll be home by lunchtime, asked Levi. Hannah shook her head no. Just after lunchtime? asked Ivy, looking a little upset. More like after dinner, said Hannah. I'm sorry, you two, but they did say we could get pizza, so that's awesome, right? Levi and Ivy slumped down on their treehouse beanbag chairs, looking rather defeated. I mean, at least they didn't say you have to have fish sticks for dinner, said Hannah, trying to make Levi and Ivy laugh. I guess you're right, said Levi, and we can always talk to them tomorrow about our ideas. And as she said that, Hannah's phone started to ring. Or it looks like you can talk to them right now, Hannah said, holding up her phone so Levi and Ivy could see the incoming call was from their parents. Levi and Ivy smiled so big and grabbed the phone. Hi, Mom and Dad, they shouted. Sorry, they grabbed the phone from me, giggled Hannah in the background as she put it on speaker so everyone could hear. Hi, Levi and Ivy. Oh, and Hannah, laughed Levi and Ivy's mom. We're sorry we weren't there when you got up this morning. Did Hannah tell you why we had to run out? She did, Mom. It's not a big deal, said Levi. We were just a little upset because Ivy and I have a whole bunch of ideas to tell you that maybe you can work into the cartoon. Yeah, so many great ideas, like one where Captain Kablam gets bonked on the head and forgets he's a superhero, Ivy started to say. And then Superboom has to try and convince him who he is. But Captain Kablam keeps breaking all his superhero tools and it's super klutzy, Levi said, interrupting his sister. It would be such a funny episode. And then we thought of a story idea where Colonel Cant meets another villain named Deputy Don't, and they started Ivy before her mom stopped her. Levi, Ivy, all of that sounds great, but we don't have time to talk about it right now, said their mom. I'm sorry, but we only have about 5 minutes before we have to run to another meeting. But we wanted to call and say hello, tell you we love you so much, and we'll see you later. Hi, Levi and Ivy, said their dad as he hopped on the call. We hope you're having a great day, and Hannah's going to get you some pizza for dinner, okay? Sure, Dad. That sounds fine, said Levi, feeling a little rushed, but knowing that his parents had work to do. Sorry, this call has to be so quick, but the person we're meeting with is only in town today, and she said she didn't know when she would have time to meet with us until later last night, said Levi and Ivy's dad. We couldn't miss the opportunity to meet with her in person. She's one of the head writers for the cartoon. You understand, right? After a few seconds of silence, Levi and Ivy gave somewhat of an unconvincing, sure, we understand, to their parents. Normally, their mom and dad would have heard the bit of a sadness in their voice and asked to talk about how they were really feeling. But this time, their dad just said, I knew you would. Goodbye and have a great night. Levi and Ivy's mom quickly shouted, Goodbye, love you, as they both hung up the phone and ran off to their meeting. Levi and Ivy knew some things would be changing after that call. But what they didn't know was they had the power to help with those changes. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.